Hey, everybody, I'm Rob Nelson, and this is Rob Nelson Live. So the Karens are out in full force. I mean, we got the Space Force. Now we've got the Karen Force. The conservative Karens are everywhere. But meanwhile, the cancel culture social justice warriors are growing fast as well. And now prominent liberals are saying, hey, maybe it's too much cancel culture. Meanwhile, we've had 2 weeks of the deadliest shootings in most major American cities, particularly Chicago, Atlanta, New York. And it's primarily black on black and black on brown and brown on black violence, not cop-related violence. Meanwhile, the coronavirus is surging like crazy. Dr. Fauci, the nation's top epidemiologist, says, don't get excited that the death rate is falling. What? And the WHO, the World Health Organization, said they think, it's pretty sure, but they're not positive, and they want to do more testing, that COVID-19 can be spread through airborne transmission. Hello, what planet are you guys living on? Well, meanwhile, Joe Biden's still in the basement. Donald Trump is still in Donald Trump land, and Kanye West is running for president. We're going to get into it all on Rob Nelson Live.
Meet Rob Nelson, talk show host.
Because you got the 70s thing going there. My name's Rob Nelson. I used to have a talk show on Fox, a show on Fox News, but news in America is so produced. I don't care if you think it's left, right, center, fake.
You passed tougher legislation to deal with the paparazzi after what happened with you and your family.
I think it's very important that we focus on rebuilding.
All right, welcome to the big show. Hey, Bruce, you there? Bruce, the man behind the curtain.
What's going on,
Bruce,
Rob?
You know, I'm doing good, Bruce. Just got to say to all the viewers out there, Bruce, you look totally different when you come on this. You know, I see you when you're doing your, when you do FaceTime stuff with me or whatever, you look different. I don't know. Did you shave something off or something? Did you get rid of a goatee?
So took care of the stubble for the show, and then I totally cut the top of the head off. Yeah.
I like the other look better. I think it was a little cowboyish, which I like. That we had the goatee thing and all that. I'm just saying, you know, stick with it, man. Stick living on the edge. So we're going to have a fun show tonight, Bruce, because I don't know how many people are going to get in on it. I hope people will. You know, you can text us. You can, whatever platform you're watching, you can pop in and give us your comments. That way you can use a guest link, which is out there to come in and video chat with us or audio chat with us. And we like the conversation to keep it, keep it all riled up and going. The more people talk, the better. That's my theory, right? Because what we need now is conversation, Bruce. You know, we're talkers, but man, too many people are just yelling at each other. So.
Nah, and they're not listening either. That's the problem. Yeah.
Nope.
They're not.
Nope, not listening. So I'm going to talk for a while, and then I'm going to listen. And by the way, our poll question of the day is, which is worse, conservative Karens or the ultra woke liberals? Which is worse, the cancel culture warriors or the conservative Karens? And they're both pretty bad. All right, time for my monologue.
There you go.
Or your monologue. Or my monologue. All right, everybody, here we go. So where to start with all this? Well, all right, I want to start with the Karens. Where did the Karens come from? I mean, I think the original Karen was a woman in Central Park who got on her phone and was like, I'm telling the police there's an African-American man threatening me. Remember? And she's walking her dog. She's supposed to have it on a leash. She's a little dog. And whatever. He's like, put your dog on a leash. It's a bird watching area. And she's like the least threatening guy on the planet. You know, the stereotype white liberals get scared when they see black guys, this guy couldn't be friendlier looking. And she's like, calls the cops an African-American. You know, it's when you're an African-American man, not just a black guy, an African-American man. She's trying to be all PC and she's calling the dude out for doing nothing, but saying, you should really put your dog on a leash. Anyway, she, I think, was the original Karen. She's the first Karen, I think. And she actually is now being charged with one count of filing a false police report. Interestingly enough, the guy she called in on won't cooperate with the DA, with the cops, with the prosecutors, which I think is interesting. He won't cooperate because he's like, look, they can charge her. It's fine. Her life's been messed up enough. I think she's gotten her punishment. That's like a good dude. He's like, I don't care. If you want to prosecute her, go for it. I'm not going to help. I'm not going to offer witness testimony or anything, which probably means her prosecution will fail. But But either way, I thought it was cool that he's not going to. She's the first Karen, though. But Karens have spread. And it seems like Karens tend to be, to stereotype, they tend to be like middle-aged and up white women. Usually not super attractive. I don't mean that in a bad way. I'm not saying that like a sexist thing. I'm just saying, you know, they tend to be these kind of like if you were to stereotype it, kind of like look like they're like kind of lonely people and don't have a lot of great social interaction skills. I don't know. Maybe I'm projecting that. My experiences with Karens have been limited. However, I hear Karen stories constantly, and I finally had my very first Karen encounter. So I just want to share quickly. My first Karen encounter is at the grocery store, and I see this woman down the aisle, and younger couple, white dude and a Latina woman. And something starts up between them. And the guy goes, you know, Karen. I know people refer to the Karens as Karen now. He's just like, you know, Karen. And it goes back and forth. And I have no idea what's going on. I'm trying not to pay too much attention. And the couple walks away finally and passes me. And he says something like, can't believe, da-da-da-da. And I'm like, yeah, you know, the Karens, whatever. And I haven't heard what actually happened. So I don't know. Maybe she was a Karen. Maybe she wasn't. I'm just, you know, but they clearly felt she was. I'm not lying. 3 minutes later, I'm going down the aisle, different aisle, and the same lady comes up, and there's a shopping cart sitting unattended next the edge of one of the aisles. And she goes real loudly, whose cart is that? Whose cart is that? Whose cart is that? And I'm looking at it, I'm tempted. Don't engage the Karens, by the way, but I'm tempted. I'm to be like, why do you care whose cart is sitting there? It's not your cart. We're not at the airport. It's not a bomb. Like, it's a cart with stuff in it. Why do you care? She won't stop. Whose cart is that? Whose cart is that? Fine. This woman comes walking out of the aisle. It's like, it's my cart. And she starts pushing it away. And the woman starts in on her. You left your cart there. You left your cart there. It's in the aisle. Da-da-da. And the woman's like, I was getting stuff. Like, Karen wouldn't stop. Like, a cart's in the aisle. Like, and I'm like, okay, first of all, you could get your cart past her cart. Secondly, you could give it a little push if you couldn't. But like, I've decided the Karens want conflict. They want you to engage with you. They want you to fight back. The best rule with a Karen is ignore them. Don't say anything, nothing, because they're looking for a fight. They want it. They want to pick a fight. Why? Because they're like literally going crazy. But on the other side is the cancel culture warriors, who have gone equally kind of off the deep end. I mean, the statue stuff, tearing everything down. Okay, you know, we talked about it last week. I get it. I think there's a fine line between what makes sense and doesn't. But where will it actually stop? So Hamilton, the hit Broadway musical and now streaming on Disney Plus, got a huge push to get canceled because people were like, you know, it depicts Alexander Hamilton, who was a slave owner. Well, FYI, pretty much everyone who founded the country was a slave owner or supported slaves. Just let's be clear about that. It's kind of like them all. They're all in it. And we're going to have to make a decision if we're going to cancel everybody who ever had any bad connection, or we're going to allow people to have lived the time they lived it and accept them for the good things they did and not reward them for the bad ones. But either way, Hamilton and the creator of Hamilton, the writer, went out of his way to make Hamilton kind of diversity plus, right? I mean, he cast black people in most of the roles that were white people. He had hip hop music to try to honor the origins that came from slavery of music and the black culture brought to the United States ultimately. It wasn't enough. People were like, this show should be canceled because Alexander Hamilton was a slave owner. And sadly, the writer came out and said, you know, I apologize. I didn't go far enough, which I hate. It's like, no, you did go far enough. Like, you literally made a Broadway hit musical about a white dude cast with mostly black people with hip hop music to tell a story about immigrants. Like, and yes, Alexander Hamilton did have slaves, as did Washington and just about all of them, but Adams were like slave people. Okay, so the cancel culture has gotten so far that liberals are starting to react. So a group of prominent liberals, including J.K. Rowling, who's gotten in trouble herself for her transgender comments, and like Noam Chomsky, who, if you're like under 40, you probably don't have any idea who Noam Chomsky is, but Noam Chomsky is a super well-known ultra-leftist liberal for the last like 30 years. And a whole group of these liberals came out and signed a letter saying it's gone too far. We have to allow even odious ideas to be discussed. And we may hate Donald Trump and we may hate a lot of things, and we're in a move for justice and equality, which we should be in, but you can't just stifle all dialogue. You have to allow people to have a conversation. You have to allow viewpoints you don't like in. But that's not what cancel culture wants to do. The cancel culture, the woke social justice warriors, which again, other Democrats have criticized too. You know, Bill Maher was a super liberal, well, less so nowadays to some people. He's been all over the woke, you know, sort of the woke liberal crowd and saying, what are you trying to do? Like you just can't silence everything, every joke, every comment, every past mistake, everything said or worse thought. You get nowhere if you just cancel everybody. The whole point's to actually have a vibrant dialogue, right? To get people to talk about things so that we can move forward, not to silence people and just get them to all bow down and apologize. And by the way, although most corporations and entities and leagues and groups and everybody is doing the right thing PC-wise, don't be fooled. It's relatively short term. They're doing it to keep dollars coming in, to not piss off their fan base, to not piss off the cancel culture mindset that social media will trigger and create a backlash against them. They're doing what makes sense for their bottom line, for their pocketbook. And they'll just do it enough to get through that. And then they'll sort of regress back. So most won't make real systematic changes, and we won't see real systematic changes if we don't have a real actual dialogue. Okay, so the shootings. Because this gets to the Black Lives Matter stuff. Massive, massive amounts of shooting over the 4th of July weekend and then this past weekend. I mean, this past few days. Chicago, New York, Atlanta, the numbers are just shocking. Over 4th of July, it was like 63 people in Chicago were shot and 17 killed, 2 kids. 44 in New York and like 6 people killed. Atlanta had high numbers. Every major city saw a huge number. And then on Sunday or Monday, I think, there was like 17 more shootings in Chicago and 4 more deaths. The one that really sparked people was the 8-year-old girl who was driving with her mother where the Wendy's in Atlanta was barricaded because the cops shot the black guy. And the mom is just trying to get through. She's trying to get home, basically. And she goes the wrong way and gets in there. And 2 shooters open up and kill her 8-year-old daughter in the car. Finally, it's like that hit people. And the Atlanta mayor, who's a hardcore Democrat, obviously, is like, enough. She's like, seriously. Like, you shot a baby girl. And she's like, do you realize what you're doing? She's like, do you realize if you want us to be taken seriously, if you want this movement, this moment, we can't be shooting each other up all the time. A lot of the media doesn't want to focus on the black on black violence. Don Lemon, with Terry Crews, the actor, on, talking on his show, Don Lemon shuts everybody down, doesn't agree with him, but shuts Terry Crews down for saying, I'm going to support like positivity from all races. And I want Black Lives Matter. Yes, but I don't want Black lives to become Black Lives Better. I was talking about the black on black violence. And Don Lemon's like, Black Lives Matter isn't about black on black violence. It's about police violence. So start your own group for black on black violence. And I'm thinking, really? Black Lives Matter is just about white police shooting black people, because I thought it was about racial equality and justice and all kinds of things beyond that. But the point is, Don Lemon doesn't want to focus on black violence, but that's a real problem. And that is a systemic problem. It may have problems tied into why black people ended up in where they are in huge swaths in inner cities and so many in jail and such, behind in the education curve and economically disadvantaged and a lot in impoverished places. But doesn't have anything to do with the fact that black people shooting black people is a problem. And the mayor of Atlanta finally called it out and said that you can't blame the police officers for this one. And what we're doing to each other is worse than what anyone on the force could do when we're killing each other like this. It's an epidemic. I've been talking about it for 2 years, the inner city violence and black people shooting black people. More than white people shooting white people. I mean, in comparison by the numbers, by the percentages. And yet there's a sort of a hesitancy to talk about it, as if like that's a different issue. But they're all connected issues, and we got to be able to talk about all of them. You can't just shut people down when you don't like what they say. Don will shut you down. but you can't just do it. It's not the way to make things work. Okay, so to the final piece here. Kanye West is running for president. The birthday party. Because as he says, when it'll be everybody's birthday. Okay, that's sounding a little Trump-like. Everybody will be happy. Everybody wins. It's a little Trump-like mentality. But these guys who run for president, at a certain level, maybe that they have to have that. Maybe they have to have this notion of when I win. Well, Kanye's on a God thing too, so he thinks God's going to get him in. It's always scary when people think God's going to make the decisions about what happens and the outcome is God-driven. But that said, Kanye's a fascinating character. And I think he's going to run. He says he is. He's got 10 days to file paperwork and stuff, and he's going to run as an independent because he said he'd run as a Republican, but Trump's still in, so he can't run as a Republican. He can run as an independent. Here's where it gets interesting. Did a big interview with Forbes. And now, whatever you think about Kanye, Kanye is a genius. There's no question. He's a gifted artist, a genius, and quite a successful business person too. So he's an artistic genius and somewhat of a business genius. He's also bipolar and has some pretty wacky ideas. Okay, before you rule Kanye out for being bipolar, let's just think about the options here. Donald Trump, who's borderline personality disorder. I don't know what Donald Trump is, but he's certainly got some mental issues. I mean, I'm not saying he's not fit to be president. I'm just saying, he sees the world the way he sees the world, and that's pretty much it. And you see it his way or else, and he rewrites everything to fit his narrative. So there's that. And then you got Joe Biden, who I'm not sure how much is still there. And people who want to pretend Joe Biden hasn't lost a step or two or three or four are crazy. And you barely see Joe Biden, so the little you do see, even more. Kanye, I don't know. Maybe it'll be good change. But here's the fascinating thing. What happens when Kanye runs, if he runs? Who does it hurt? So Kanye comes out and says, listen, I like Trump, but my red hat comes off today. The mega hat comes off. And, I'm going to take it. And then he goes off on Biden. Because they're like, well, are you going to siphon black votes away from Biden? Because that's what would theoretically happen, right? In 92, when Ross Perot, the independent who got the most votes ever as an independent, he ran against Clinton and Bush. He was more conservative. He got 20% of the vote, which was a lot for an independent. It took it from George Bush. He helped Clinton get elected. Well, this will be the reverse. Kanye will pull votes from Joe Biden. Kanye will pull liberal votes, and he'll pull black votes. When asked about it, Kanye's like, this is the thing. I'm sick of people saying black people have to vote for a Democrat. And I don't care if I'm going to take votes away from Biden, because who's Joe Biden? It's a fascinating comment where he goes, Trump is special. Clinton was special. Kanye special. I love how people refer to themselves in the third person. Rob is special. But Joe Biden, he didn't say me, but Joe Biden, he's like, is not special. And he's not. There's this whole fantasy of voting for Joe Biden. You don't even know who Joe Biden is. And what you do know about him, really? Because he orchestrated the 1994 crime bill that's responsible for much of the last 20 years of black people being imprisoned. He went after Anita Hill in the first major Me Too mess up when she was saying that Clarence Thomas, now Supreme Court Justice Thomas, during his confirmation hearings had committed, sexual harassment on her. He shot her down to pieces, humiliated her. He's never really apologized to her. He's 40 years of being corrupt and in power and not doing much good. Vice president for Obama. I mean, you don't do anything when you're the vice president, really. So that almost doesn't count. So what do you get with Joe Biden? You don't even know. He's been in the basement, for God's sake. He stays there because when he says stuff, half the time it doesn't make sense. He's frail. He's old. He's losing his memory. He's been in power forever. He's part of the system. He's not advanced black people or women's issues. He's not advanced the things he says he's about. And you want to vote for him. Why? Just because he's not Donald Trump. So maybe Kanye is a good alternative. Bruce, can we play the quick video before I wrap this up? I did a little man on the street video with just months ago, just asking two guys, a very short video, asking these two guys about having a black president because they're black.
Sure, I'll put it on right now.
Did it make any difference for you that you had a black president because you guys are black? Did that matter?
I feel like it gave people hope.
Did that hope
It showed
pay
a
off?
difference. I mean, deep down, I don't feel like it did. It
Would you vote for a candidate because they were black over a white person?
Honestly, probably, yeah.
But if I asked someone, would you vote for someone because they were white, that would seem racist, right? Wouldn't that seem racist?
It would, but it
would.
depends
It
on...
would.
So does that mean what you're saying is racist?
It's just how we all think.
I think it's the
I feel
stuff
like we all
behind it.
hardwired differently.
What if Trump was black?
I mean, he damn near is black. He orange as hell. That's close to black.
Yeah,
You guys- I get it. It was fun. It was a fun moment. And look, I get it. And these guys were honest. They're like, yeah, I guess maybe it's, first of all, Obama was hope. And when I talked to them more, they were like, the hope didn't translate through. We didn't get the hope fulfilled we wanted. But I understand why, if you're black, young black guy, you'd be like, yeah, I'd go for Obama again. Even though Obama didn't do that much for you, I'd go for it. And yeah, I get why you'd go. I'd go for a black guy. And sure, that's kind of racist. You're just allowed to say it if you're black. You're not allowed to say I want a white president if I'm white. I don't care what color the president is. But I can see why black people would feel a black president could help them. I can certainly see why people would feel a Kanye president could be interesting. He's a super mega celebrity. I can also see why Kanye gets so pissed and says, I'm so tired of being told I have to vote Democrat. He said, I was told it as a celebrity. I was told I better not speak up for I'm a Republican if I don't want my music career ended. So I'm told it my whole life I have to vote. And you black people are told it. You're black. And Joe Biden took it to the extreme on Charlemagne the God radio show when he mistakenly, but honestly said, if you're black and you don't vote for me, you're not really black. How? I mean, I get it. Like how incredibly condescending, but it's how the mainstream Democratic Party looks at it. Black people are going to vote for us. So Kanye's like, no, we're not beholden to you, Joe Biden. The most racist comment of all was Joe Biden's, if you don't vote for me, you're not really black. Like it may not seem as racist to you on the surface as saying something inherently derogatory about a black person, but it's as racist as you can get. You're not really a black person if you would think differently than I tell you to think, that you could like Donald Trump, you couldn't be black. Wow. So I get Kanye's fury, and I don't know if he'd be a good president. I mean, he's honest. He's like, I don't know much about foreign policy, but I'd learn. Okay, you get a lot of advisors for that stuff. He'd shake things up. He'd keep it interesting. The last 4 years, come on, like it or not, it's been an interesting time. Everybody pays attention because Trump makes it a reality show. So Kanye will run, and that would hurt Joe Biden. Kanye thinks he could beat Trump too. Kanye thinks he's a winner, just like Trump does. Joe Biden doesn't really think he's a winner, but he talks like he is. But here's my final thought on this. If you're Donald Trump, so Kanye says to Trump, Trump's good, but I'm better. Biden sucks, but Trump's all right. Trump's good. I supported him, but it's my turn. Trump's asked about it and says Kanye has a real voice. And then he says, but this is going to be a trial run if he does this for 2024, because obviously Trump thinks he's going to win. You'd think Trump's crazy, but Trump does think he's going to win. I don't know if he is. That's another show, but thinks he is. But if I'm Trump, get on the Kanye bandwagon. Seriously. I mean, don't try to get him elected, but good. He's smart. It's smart politics to say he's got a voice. Don't go after him. Don't make up bad names for him. Don't put him down. Put him up. Be like, good for you, Kanye, which is kind of what he did, but I go all in. Good for you, Kanye. Get out there. Run. We need another voice. You're better than Joe Biden, at least. I mean, I'm going to win, but bring it on like a good football game, like a good Super Bowl. Come on, man. Good for you. Get out there. Do your thing. Raise your voice. You'd be a good president after I'm out. That's what I do if I'm Trump. Because Kanye will pull votes from Biden like no tomorrow. He will pull black votes. He will. And he'll pull white votes. And he'll pull some independent votes, but he'll pull 90% away from Biden, who when Biden creeps out of his basement, which eventually they're going to have to let him do unless the pandemic keeps everything locked down to November 4th, you will see who Joe Biden is and how little charisma he has, how much isn't there. If you want to look and see what he really stands for, you'll see who Joe Biden is. There's not much there. I get you may be unhappy with Trump. And the country's in a chaotic space right now. I don't know what president would have done a whole lot better, but I'm not defending the mistakes Trump's made, and certainly not the way Trump thinks and acts. The guy has no empathy. In a time of crisis, you need some empathy. But at the end of the day, really, you think Joe Biden's going to piece it all back together? Seriously? It's like anybody but Trump. Well, then maybe go with Kanye. All right. We got some comments. We got someone on the line. What do we got, Bruce? We got some interesting comments. What do you want to throw up?
Yeah, the comments, like Periscope has just been going off like crazy, and the same thing with Reddit too. But we got a caller on. Let's go ahead and bring him on. Juan, let's go ahead and have you come on.
Okay, and then let's get some of our comments in too. Hey, Juan. I see we got Juan. Juan. Hey, Juan. Good to hear you. I guess we're not seeing you.
Oh,
we're just hearing you.
Yeah. If you don't mind, I'm in the middle.
I don't mind.
Journey back. I'm in the middle of exercising, so 10-mile trip.
Good.
So
I like Juan. I like when people call. Another guy calls when he's running on the beach. I like the people exercising and like calling in. I think it's very active. It's like double active. You're being part of a conversation and you're being healthy out there. So that's awesome.
Yeah.
So
absolutely, part of this good thing that you guys. It's a great conversation that you're great topic, and I'm glad that you are building conversations around this topic.
Thanks, Juan. Juan, so just so people can't see you, but you were on before. So, but and Juan's on with just audio, everybody. So, but Juan, you're black. That's not really a question. I'm just saying it so people know. But as a black guy, Juan, could you see the little video I had of the two guys I asked in the street about Obama and a black president?
Yeah, I did see that. Yes.
So how do you feel around and again, I'm not asking you to speak for all black people, but you are a black person, right? I don't speak for all white people, but if you were asking me what I think as a white person, I can tell you my experience. What's your view when people say things like, I said I get why a person who's black might want a black president because they think they'll understand their needs and their problems better. And certainly that was the hope with Obama. But when people assume, Kanye's comments about Biden and the Democratic Party, assuming black people will and must vote Democrat and must think a certain way, and this notion that you couldn't be black and, really be black and be conservative, just any part of that puzzle, where do you come down on it? And you're more liberal, right?
Well, are you referring to Kanye's comment or
yeah,
Biden's comment?
Kanye's comment about Biden, but Biden's comment that was, that if you're not really black if you wouldn't vote for me, and Kanye's comment, tired of people thinking because I'm black I have to vote the Democratic Party, thinking I have to vote Democrat if I'm black.
Well, I think Kanye's point is completely appropriate. I think it goes back to the conversation we were having prior episode regarding being a token at a company in a new industry where there are not a lot of minority representation, and you feel that you need to represent the whole versus the individual. So Kanye's saying this, it's in the same vein, if you will, where you have he has whether he's serious or not, he has a right to his own opinion. He's an individual man, and he can go against he's made a career by going against the grain, if you will. So I think that's completely appropriate. And then Biden, on the other hand, is a more of a misinformed, unearned comment. I think just because the simple fact of someone's skin color in a party, relieves him of the obligation to actually earn the vote, in my opinion, based on that comment.
Right. And why, Juan, you are liberal, right? Or are you not? Are you independent? I don't mean to put that label on you. I thought from comments you made worse. So how would you define yourself? Democrat, Republican, left, right, independent? Where would you put yourself on the spectrum?
I think that we would need to have a more of side conversation so I can more closely identify who I am. So just to be quite honest with you, I don't, I have, that, and
Are you
that
saying you
could be
don't want
something.
to say, which is fine? Are you saying you don't want to say because for reasons you just would rather not say, or you're saying it's not that simple?
I'm saying I don't know.
Oh, you
I'm
don't know.
saying that I mostly would lean more toward, democratic thoughts and concepts, but I actually can appreciate some Republican views as well. So I I'm somewhere, I'm somewhere in that journey, and
Mhm.
and that's a good point that you brought up because I tend to fall one way because of being a
Right.
minority, and it's mostly said that Democrats are mostly representing minorities. So
One, but
um,
one, let me interrupt you. And we're getting a lot of comments on the screen, people saying, stop taking us for granted, stop telling us who to vote for. There is an assumption that if you're black, you're going to be more likely, it's like, oh, he's a black Republican. Like people, it's like you add that on, like nobody goes, oh, he's a black Democrat. You know what I mean? Like if you're,
yeah.
if you're black and you're a Republican and especially if you're in an office, it gets constantly highlighted that you're a Republican and you're black. It's like, and he's gay and black and a Republican. Like, wow, like you couldn't be Republican and gay. You couldn't be Republican and black. At a certain level, does it bother you that like the Democratic Party takes that for granted, that most big cities just assume, it's a marginalized vote. We know we're going to get it, so we don't really have to do much to work for it.
I'd have to put some thoughts around that to capsulize it. And you get.
Do we lose you? I think we lost Juan's audio. Oh, there you are. You were cutting out on us, Juan.
Earn the vote based on this comment. So, I'd have to.
All right, Juan, we're losing you. So thanks for joining us, Juan. We were losing you at the end. Juan's on a quest running or something. So Juan, thanks for the comments. And what I think I like about what Juan said is, not quick to jump to a conclusion, but thoughtful about it. Maybe that's part of what we're missing is a sort of a thoughtfulness, right? Like he's like, well, no, I'm it's not a simple thing. I got to think about where I fit, where I stand, how I look at it. I want to reason it out more. We've kind of lost that thing right now. We're in everybody just jumps down on everything, Jamie Comer, who's like one of the Killing Eve stars, literally got calls to cancel her when people found out she has a Republican boyfriend. I'm not kidding. Okay. She plays an LGBTQ character. She's been very active about Black Lives Matter. And it comes out that she's in love with a guy who's Republican, and people are like, cancel her for daring to like a person who is Republican and saying she's fake. She's all fake. Her whole thing is just fake because she fell in love with a Republican. I'm serious. That's where we're at. So, Juan's going, let me think about it. Because the truth is, I don't think you have to be one side or the other. I don't think you have to be left or right. I don't think of myself as left or right. And I don't think of myself as in the middle. There's a difference. You can say, well, I'm not left, I'm not right, I'm in the middle. No, I'm not in the middle. I don't think there has to be a continuum where you're either here, or else you're somehow sitting in the middle of the road. I think there's elements, like Juan said, both ideologies that make sense. And it's kind of bringing it together almost like a circle and finding a place within that represents more holistically where you're coming from. It's being an independent doesn't mean you're in the middle. I'm not in the middle on a whole lot of things. I'm very extreme on a lot of things. Some of them are very liberal. Some of them are very conservative. They don't cancel each other out and put me in the middle. I just bring them together. So we're getting some interesting comments. Bruce has been popping them up on the screen. It's up to us. Let's throw some up there, Bruce, and we'll just whip through them. We got a couple different things. you can throw a few people. Some of them are the same people, but they're doing one-line things. But we had different people. Someone was saying they're LBGTQ for Trump. Right.
Yeah.
Other people saying, hey, don't fall. Let's whip some up. I'm Black Mexican. So let me ask, I'm going to just do this, Bruce. I'm going to ask people who are doing it. I'm Black Mexican. Are you, if you're whoever just posted that, you're Black Mexican, does that mean you're Black Mexican and what? You feel like you're taken for granted by the Democratic Party? You're conservative, you're liberal, you want your vote to count more? You're saying they must tell us who to stop for. No one is liberal, really. Interesting. No one is liberal, really. Okay. I don't know about that. I don't know what you mean by that, to be honest. I think some people are liberal, really, but I think our liberal and conservative notions have gotten kind of crossed over on each other. Like, again, we live in a binary culture. We like really extreme quick things. And the number of people who jump down people's throats for whatever they do or say, it's kind of ridiculous. But we are very much, you're either for me or against me. You're either in or you're out. It's all or nothing. And it's not really kind of a very healthy way to like look at things if you think about it. It's not. It's disgusting. I love these one-line comments we're getting. So that's kind of my take for the day. I appreciated Juan getting in there. I love if people call in, people come in on video. You can come in on audio, you can come in on video. Love the comments. Bruce, do we have a couple of Reddit comments we can toss up there before we wrap it up or not? I know we've had a lot flying down the side, so it's probably hard to track them back, but.
Yeah, they were just saying like the LGBTQ community supports Donald Trump. So yeah, we had two people mentioning that. We had a couple earlier that I've just been putting up on the stream as we're going.
Yeah, and appreciate that, Bruce. So, all right, so let me wrap this up. So here's the thing. When someone says the LGBT community supports Trump, and I can hear people going, no, it doesn't. And it's my point. The community doesn't have to support Trump as a whole. It's the whole thing. Black people can't be Republican. If you're Black, you're going to vote for Biden, says Biden. You're not Black if you don't. This notion that an entire group of people, an entire race, an entire sexual orientation, an entire anything has to think a certain way. You can be Black and support Trump. You can be Black and be Republican. You can be LGBTQ and be Republican. You can be anything. And you can also be, you could also be more typical, like ultra conservative in some ways and be a Democrat. And oddly enough, historically, until pretty recently, most of the biggest racists in our government were not way back in the day. I mean, in the 50s, 60s, 70s, were Democrats. First half of the century, especially, all kinds of prominent Democratic leaders were ultra racists. So the notion that because you're one color, one race, one religion, one sexual orientation means you have to be in a certain party is part of the problem. It's part of the binary nature in which we think. And it's if we have a choice right now, we can either keep shutting everybody down, keep isolating people, keep locking them up out, cancel them if they say the wrong thing, lock them up, literally in the case of like a generation, 25% of a generation of young Black men being locked up, or we can start having dialogues and start opening up to figure out how to actually move forward together. If we keep tumbling everything down, we will simply create a larger class of Karens and a larger class of woke cancel culture warriors. And those two classes will divide and divide and divide and split us completely apart. Or we don't find the middle ground, but we find the common ground and we work forward toward something better, which actually is kind of, if you read what Kanye says when he says Forbes interview, kind of what he wants to do. Kanye for president 2020, interesting possibility. I'm Rob Nelson. It's Rob Nelson Live. Thanks for watching. You there, Bruce?